Hey, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited today to drop this podcast because you know what? Everybody knows how much I love Cab Franc. And if we are talking Cab Franc, the only other person that I think loves Cab Franc as much as I love Cab Franc is Stephen Mirasu. So, hello, Stephen. How are
Lori,
you?
such a pleasure to see you again. It's been way too long. I'm great. We're very excited about gearing up for harvest. Every year I get surprised. I'm a winemaker. I've been making wine for nearly 30 years, and you have to have a harvest, right, in order to make
Mhm.
wine. But every year I get caught up in all the other stuff, and I forget about the fact that I better start taking some grape samples here
Right,
because harvest is right around the corner.
right.
It's lovely, lovely to see you again.
Great to see you too. And with that harvest thing, how is the fruit looking this year?
Things are looking good. I mean, it's been. I was talking. My wife, who you know very well, Beth, is part of a Livermore Valley Women's Wine Collective group, and they were doing a tasting today. 8 wineries doing a bunch of different fabulous wines. And I was talking to one of the other guests there. It was another winemaker, and we were just talking about the fact that there's no new normal anymore. I mean, the what used to be you could count on harvest starting mid-August for Albarino, let's say,
Right.
or Sangiovese in mid-September. I don't know. I mean, I think things are going very well. The early part of the harvest was weird. We had some temperature spikes. We had a very cold winter here in Livermore, and then we had some temperature spikes that were weird. And then we had some rain that was timing wise was a little weird. Things have seemed to, kind of get back to where
You would.
where we expect them to be at this time of the year. We've walked some vineyards. We like what we're having. Veraison was in the vineyard we get the Cab Franc Blanc fruit from. Was probably a week ago was maybe 30% through veraison at that point in time.
Okay. Okay.
So a while to go. We picked that fruit last year in early October, thinking that's kind of at least a vague starting point. That'll be our second pick.
Right.
Our first pick will be Sangiovese for a Super Tuscan style
Okay.
wine that we do for one of our club members, for our club, one of our wine clubs. So I think things are going well. I just who knows these
Yeah.
days.
It has been so in Paso, kind of the same thing, right? We had massive, massive heat spikes, which actually stunted everything
Exactly.
because it was so hot. And then now we kind of went into all right, this is the time, this is grapes are loving life right now. And everything has sped up so much. One of our Cab Franc vineyards in the Estrella district is 80% through veraison
No
already.
kidding. Holy cow.
Yeah. And it's August, you know.
Holy cow.
Um, and then I walked another one, the other, our main vineyard, the Metz vineyard, which is also in the Estrella district, but very, very different Estrella district, right? Um, I, I'm gonna say 50% through veraison, but I went through that same vineyard, that Metz vineyard last week,
Yeah.
and it was like hardly any, it was like 30% for agent. So in this one week, it just went like this. So it is just weird. But now next week, we're getting heat spikes again. So
It's climate change is a real thing. That's the first thing. Um, Secondly, we're in an agricultural business, and so Mother Nature does what Mother Nature wants.
yep,
We want X, and
she is
she
the
laughs at
boss.
us. He is the boss, and so that's one of the things that makes the winemaking business so interesting is that every year is a different thing, and that that there's very little control over anything. And
Right.
so it's kind of like riding a wave. You got to be willing to ride the wave, be thrown off the surfboard every now and again and get back on with the idea that from at least from our perspective, that we're shepherding. We're
Right.
hoping to help fruit get to a point that it comes in, we've made the right picking decisions, It comes into the right balance of pyrazine and sugar and TA and pH and the like, and that we don't screw things up in the cellar and we've got something beautiful at the end of the
Right.
day.
Right.
Trying to be
Absolutely.
heavy-handed with Cabernet Franc, I think, is a recipe for disaster. Cabernet Sauvignon, you can do what you want. Cabernet Franc is, I think, is a more demanding, more it's a tougher grape to get right in
it
my mind.
it it's personable. It wants to be taken care of. It wants to be spoken to. It wants to be cared
Right,
for.
right.
Where again, I agree. Cabernet Sauvignon is just like, yeah, I'm a loner. I'm the lone
Yeah,
wolf.
exactly.
I can do whatever I
Exactly.
want. Yeah,
Exactly. Beat me with a
absolutely.
stick, I'll still be okay.
Right, right.
It's the Cabernet Franc is I think what appeals to people like us who love Cab Franc so much is that there's a there's a wider range of ripening capability
Hmm.
from a terroir standpoint, from a growing area standpoint. There's a wider range of beauty in the finished product, and there's more of a range for winemakers to make something sublime or to really fuck things up. Excuse my French. With Cabernet Sauvignon, there's really not much you can do to ripe cab to screw things up.
Right.
Cabernet
It's like
Franc
a
is,
train. It's like a train on a track,
yeah,
right? Cabernet Sauvignon is like a train on the track. It's going in one direction. It's
exactly.
following the track. It's doing where Cab Franc is like the tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's trying to, there's 18 different dimensions of things happening,
Right,
and which makes it really fun and enervating and frustrating and beautiful and sublime and all those things that give winemakers the reason to get out of bed in the morning.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so with that, I mean, I know right before you got a glass, so I have a glass too here. So
I'm sorry, I've got the Italian style little
there you go. It's all right.
cheers to you.
So cheers to you. So I am drinking a pretty damn fine Cabernet Franc,
Nice. I like it.
and I'm going to share what it is. Uh,
Oh, look at
Going
that.
that there.
Notre Cote. I love it.
Yes, yes. And it's your 2017.
No kidding. Which vineyard?
Is it on the back?
Gilmedi or Sockau?
Sakau.
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoy it. That was
I am
awesome.
loving it. I,
Awesome.
it
Heck
never really works when you don't have the green screen behind you, but
yeah.
this is what's left.
Yay. That was that was really the first though so we did two different single vineyards in that vintage. And we had been making Cab Franc since 2005, probably 2006 for the Stephen Kent label. And L'Autre Cote became kind of our Cab Franc brand. And we're now migrating back to Stephen Kent for everything except for that one blend, the higher end blend. Um, so thank you very much. I happen to drink a little bit of Burgundy.
Oh,
It was
okay.
my 60th birthday a couple of days ago.
Oh, happy
Thank you.
belated.
Thank you. And the only reason why I say that is because someone gave us a bottle of Burgundy, and Beth and I opened that up earlier this evening. So I'm sipping on that right now. I did have some Cab Franc Blanc earlier from that's in stainless steel that we're going to
Okay.
bottle as mags, just to have something that
Oh
tastes a
my
little bit different.
God. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Oh my
which
God.
is fun. But it's so much fun. Cab Franc is, and we talked about this kind of off camera, the challenges in the wine business right now.
Mhm.
And I think that and it seems to me as if you've hit on one of the solutions, and we're trying to hit on one of the solutions, which is to make wine fun again, to
Right.
try to take it away from the snootiness that it never should have had. And
Exactly.
it's, kind of born from not knowing as a culture, as an American wine drinking culture, very young, still young compared to Europe, and trying to get our arms around something that can be very complicated if you want to go that route. But the thing about wine, I think fundamentally, is that in its simplest and purest form, it's about what's freaking delicious, and what goes with whatever food you have prepared.
Freaking delicious.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, it just, wine, there's too many barriers we set up, or there's too many barriers that we don't knock down as an industry in California. Um, too much chasing of scores, too much, you have to drink out of a certain glass, too much um, of the things that get in the way of an average,
Enjoyment.
just any person
Enjoyment.
enjoying the wine. Fundamentally, enjoyment. That's the thing. And that's so, we some of our wines are expensive and some aren't. It costs a lot to make wine in California. It is a fact. But to try to put something in front of people that will appeal to the sense of exploration and fun and enjoyment and not worrying about the shit that doesn't matter it's an interesting challenge, and it's a challenge that I'm really excited about because I've got my two of my children who are in the business now working with us who have a better handle about that kind of thing than I do, to be certain.
Well, yeah, the wine business itself there's just so many more hurdles and dynamics that it's not just making a great wine. It's like how do you get the people to try your great wine, whatever. Um,
Right.
but with the passion of Cab Franc, one of the things that I absolutely love, um, is so, as you know, we sold out of our Cab Franc like in March or whatever,
Exactly.
right? And so this entire time I have not had Cab Franc. And it's like, okay, well,
It's a good problem to have in a way.
in a way, except this is what I want to, this is my
Right.
passion, this is what I want to
Exactly.
do. And
Exactly.
so we are doing our fall release September 1st. So
Awesome.
we bumped it up a month. It's normally
Awesome.
October 1st. So we bumped it to September 1st. And I've had a countdown on, like, we've got like a sandwich board outside
Right.
of the tasting room. And I've had a countdown, like 20 days to Cab Franc,
Yeah. Right.
we are now at 10 days to Cab Franc.
That's awesome.
And every time I have Cab Franc on that board, because when we didn't have it, I took it off. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to promote Cab Franc if I don't, in my
Sure.
tasting room if I don't have it. So, but every time I put Cab Franc on that board, people come in and like, oh my God, I love Cab Franc. I have to try your Cab Franc. And it just makes everything else worthwhile because
No, no
somebody is coming in specifically for Cab Franc.
No question. It's funny. It reminds me. I don't know if you've seen this show. There's a show that's about to drop its fourth season called Only Murders in the Building, which is
Is
a
that with Steve
Steve
Martin?
Martin and Martin
Okay.
Short and Selena Gomez. It's awesome.
Is
It's
it
a
okay?
great show, and I wholeheartedly endorse you watching it. But what's interesting about it to me, and kind of why I brought it up now, is there. So there's a murder in their apartment building they're trying to solve, and they're doing a podcast about them trying to solve this thing. And they look at the stats for their podcast, and they have 14 subscribers, which is kind of like the Kev Ronk world in a way, right? Every new person who comes is the most important person
Right,
in the
right,
world.
right.
Um, I think about these numbers constantly because I have a long-term vision about what I hope Cabernet Franc can become in California. 2023, 655,000 tons of Cabernet were crushed in California. 11,600 tons of Cab Franc. So, I mean, you're talking about parts of a percentage,
Right,
right?
right.
Tiny. I'm an English major. I don't do math, but I know
We can
that's
do this. We know
very
it's small.
small. Um, which means we're all starting from a very small base, and it's a passion project.
Mhm.
And we're proselytizing, all of us, you maybe most especially, as the goddess of hashtag Cab Franc Day and of Cab Franc in your appellation. Um, we're in a really beautiful situation. It's hard as hell. It's hard as hell to get people to try something they're not familiar with in
Absolutely.
any context. But what we're trying to get them to taste is something that's so gorgeous and so beautiful and so intrinsically, inherently beautiful with a capital B, that's what sustains me. We're making at this point in time 1,500 cases of Cab Franc in 13 different iterations from the 23 vintage, from white to pink to dark pink to cement to stainless steel to neutral barrel and single vineyards all over the place. Um, there's a chorus kind of warming up in a back room right now.
Right.
And I think that the windows in this back room are going to be open soon, and the door from the back room to the front room is going to be open soon. And people are going to see how gorgeous this thing is, this grape, this beautiful wine that's so much more interesting than Cabernet Sauvignon, that's so much more emotionally driven and sexier than Pinot Noir. Um, and so much more food friendly than either one of them, in my opinion. There's
Absolutely.
just something about this grape that for me is it's absolutely an emotionally driven experience that I just can't wait. Incrementally, every little bit of growth,
Right.
every acre planted in Livermore, every acre planted in Paso, every new producer, and that's why the Cab Francapalooza events that we're going to talk about, I'm sure, are so much fun because they tap into this wellspring of something that's young and new and different, and that the wine drinkers of generation whatever they are these days, their parents didn't drink, um, offers something exciting and new and different for a whole new generation of people.
Right. So I'm going to share with you in the tasting room last week. Somebody had come in and they were talking. We were talking Cab Franc, of course. And they were like, you know, do you know there's a region like north of here? Um, what is it? Starts with an L. Um, and they really are into Cab Franc up there. Do you? I'm like, Livermore? And they're like, yeah, yeah. Have you heard of that? Like, they're really into Cab Franc there. So you are,
That's a beautiful thing.
yeah. And so I said, I'm like, well, I kind of know the guy in charge of the forefront of pushing Livermore Valley as being Cab Franc. And I'm going to tell him that, we're going to
Thank you
get you to
so much.
remember Livermore. We're going to get you to remember the whole name, but
That's
at least
right.
you got the L.
You
And
got We'll start there.
yeah, yeah. So it's working. There is so much, and like our first vintage was 2013, and I realized, when we fell in love with Cab Franc, um, before we were a winery,
Yeah,
I had never heard of it, and we tasted this wine and we fell in love with it. And that was it. It was like, the stars, the fireworks
absolutely.
were going off and all of that.
Absolutely.
And when we created the winery and we were focusing on Cab Franc, I was like, wow, there's a lot of people out here who actually love Cab Franc, but nobody is singing its praises or whatever. And in these 10 years, since 2013, now 11 years, because we're now close to harvest, it's grown so much. There is so much love out there. And you and I both have a common friend, Christy, who,
Yeah,
right? Like, what's her hashtag? Cab Franc is my boyfriend,
exactly
right?
right. Exactly
You know,
right.
it's like, and it's just, it's a beautiful thing to see this, something that I'm going to say, I'm going to speak for you and tell me if I'm wrong. It's in our soul,
Yeah,
right? Cab Franc is
yeah,
in our soul,
no
to see
question.
that we're not the only people who have this passion.
You were involved in the first Cab Francapalooza in
Hmm.
22. And I think Mike was pouring up here. I
Yep.
know you had another tasting. You guys are a two-person team, so I admire how much effort you're putting into this. Um, there's Christy, Christy has an amazing experience with Cab Franc from the Midwest, from Michigan, and from the Finger Lakes, and um, there it nothing great happens without passion,
Right.
right? And there's Cabernet Sauvignon is always going to be the predominant red wine in America, and that's fine. I make a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon, and I like really good Cabernet Sauvignon. I love it. It serves the right purpose if it's made well. I love Chardonnay. Certain Chardonnays usually tend to be French, but nonetheless, I'm not. I'm the last thing I want to do is try to tell somebody that what they're drinking is the wrong thing for them to drink. But there's a wide world of wine out there. And I think one of the things that's great about wine is that whether you're a novice, you're new into this, you're just dipping your toe into the pool of wine, or you're deep into it, that just tasting, tasting is the homework. It's the easiest homework in the world. It's just taste stuff.
Right.
Don't taste the stuff you don't like again if you don't want to. Or, the thing about wine is it's ephemeral. It changes so much. It changes from moment to moment. It changes from vintage to vintage, vineyard to vineyard. Nothing's ever the same about wine. I love scotch. I love gin. I drink Tanqueray in tonic or a martini. It's the Big Mac of spirits. I'm going to get what I know I'm going to get. And I like it for what it is. And I have it when I want it. I look at I like the tumult of life. I like the tumult of experience. I like the fact that shit, I mean, we're here one time. We get one shot at this thing. There's so many beautiful things to experience, so many beautiful people to meet, like you and Michael, and so many people with shared interests to talk to the things that we're passionate about, to learn more from. There's that's what wine is about. Wine is sort of the anti-Big Mac in a way, in that if you drink from small wineries and you drink from lesser known varieties, every moment is going to be revelatory,
Right.
right? Every moment's going to reveal something different. If you want Kendall Jackson Vintner Chardonnay, God bless you. That's fine. Zero issues with that. You're going to get something that doesn't change from vintage to vintage, and that's
Right.
okay. I think that the fun part though is diving off the high dive into something weird and wonderful. And I think that Cab Franc may not be weird, certainly wonderful, but there's a whole world out there of Cab Franc that differs from region to region. Livermore Valley is
Mhm.
different than Paso, which is different from Washington State, which is different from the Finger Lakes. And all of these are glorious examples of what Cab Franc can be,
Right.
and the capaciousness, right, of this variety, its ability to encompass
Oh,
so many different terroir, so many different uh, winemaking philosophies, means that it's a world-class grape. It means that it's a serious variety that people who want to dive into things ought to explore.
absolutely.
So, from my perspective, there's nothing more glorious about dipping into something Cabernet Franc related that I haven't had before.
Absolutely. And so we want to talk about Cab Francapalooza. So
Yeah.
first of all, I absolutely want to I love the name, but I want to hear, because we've talked off camera or whatever about, and a little bit here, about how wine has kind of gone in a wrong direction. in, being pretentious or something like that. And just just the name Cab Francapalooza kind of like cuts that, cuts it at the knees type thing. So the was it 22? Was that the first
22.
one?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2022, when you came up with the concept of Cab Francapalooza, walk us through how you came up with that concept and to come up with the name and what your goal was for that first Cab Francapalooza. And by the way, the font for it
Yeah.
is awesome. Like it
That's
just plays right into the whole concept. So
Thank you. And that, so I'm going to give credit to my partner, one of my partners, Matt Toomey, for coming up with it, with that kind of visual concept or sort of underlayment. You know, Cab Francapalooza came about as a way of having fun with Cab Franc, as a way of putting the spotlight in a dark auditorium and putting the spotlight from the stage on something that should be highlighted, in my opinion. Self-serving, absolutely. We're a Cab Franc brand. We're going to make 13 plus different Cab Francs from the 2023 vintage, and it's just going to escalate from there. So for us, it was how does the Stephen Kent winery highlight Cabernet Franc in a way that is accessible and fun, non-pretentious, delicious, sexy, food friendly, all these things that we've already talked about. And so we thought about Lollapalooza, that we thought about this idea of just having a party, right? A palooza is a party. That's kind of the definition. Cab Franc obviously was a vehicle for the party. And the concept was we have friends, and I think we had met even prior to Cab Francapalooza, that let's get our friends involved. Let's get our friends who are focusing on Cab Franc, because we're all this small little tribe that is sort of beating a drum,
right.
kind of like, I think like we're Oompa Loompas beating against a drum, 2 feet tall, beating against a drum to grow, and to be something more than what we are every year. But revealing something that people don't know yet, how glorious it is. It's kind of like we're hopefully taking the wrapping off this amazing present gift to everybody. That was kind of the idea emotionally about Cab Francapalooza. And from a practical standpoint, it was, let's get our friends together. It was kind of like the Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland. Let's put a show together, kind of a thing. So we get the saws out and the wood and build a stage, and we do this thing. And the idea was to try to get Cab Franc from the more recognized growing areas in California and outside of California in the US, and also from Europe. And so we were able to get wine shops involved in Livermore that were doing Cab Franc from around the world. So Italian Cab Franc from Bulgari, uh,
Mm, yum, yum, yum,
Hungarian
yum.
Cab Franc, exactly, right? Loire Valley, my spiritual home, Chinon, Semur Champagny, getting those sort of emotional centers, spiritual centers of Cab Franc here in one form or another. And the first Cab Franc in 22, we did some smaller events because we had some political things we needed to work through with Livermore Valley wineries who were doing Cab Franc but weren't necessarily involved in our grand tasting idea,
Okay.
kind of a weekend. We had 30 wineries from around the world involved. We had 60 plus Cab Francs being poured on a Sunday. Last year we had 40 plus, and we had 100 different Cab Francs from, mostly the US, but
And I was sold out.
I know, and you were sold out. And so June 8th of 2025 is Cab Francapalooza 25, our grand tasting. And we're hoping for 50 plus wineries, and we're hoping for 150 different Cab Francs, and just if you want to indulge and you want to get more Cab Franc than any human being should be allowed to taste and say, come to this tasting. But we've also planned some smaller events that hopefully propel and allow other regions to be the host for that weekend or for that day, to highlight that region, but to bring some outside Cab Francs that create a larger context for wine lovers, for Cab Franc lovers, about what Cab Franc can be. And there's nothing better than tasting a bunch of Cab Francs side by side from different areas to show how magnificently uh, um, wide the landscape for Cab Franc actually is from a growing standpoint. And from a stylistic standpoint, the vision of the winemakers who
Exactly.
make these different styles it's just so much fun. And that's kind of what our event in Paso on September 1st is all about, which we're extremely excited that Cab Franc-Palooza is moving from Livermore Valley, for a weekend anyway, September 1st to Paso. And then we're going to get a chance to see each other again and pour next to each other and have a lot of fun.
And so before we get to the Paso aspect of it,
Yeah.
when it's the little finite things that you do with Cab Palooza that it is so impressive to me. I don't know how else to say it. So like
Thank you.
when you first talked about Cab Palooza, and you kind of said it a little bit here today, was, it's the spotlight. And I think of it as like the main tent at the circus, right? The making wine is a circus, right? There's so much stuff going on,
True.
and there's so many things happening, like people throwing knives over here and elephants over here and a high wire up here, and all of this stuff is going on. And as a winemaker, oh my God, do I have enough space? Because Mother
Right.
Nature is now making me harvest in 3 weeks versus 6 weeks. And all of this juggling that's going on. And just like I said, the font is, what, this is fun. It's not,
Right.
we're serious about Cab Franc,
Sure.
but we're having fun. And then it's like that main tent, and you even have like the little colors of like a circus tent and all of that in it. And it just plays so well into the vibe of what it is. And I'm, Cab Franc Day is my child, and I'm the mother hen, and like, and I love Cab Francapalooza. It's like it's an extension
Thank
of
you.
everything, and it's like, I don't, it's like I just love every time I look at the photo, and the Paso Robles that we're going to talk about, whatever. Like every time I look at it, I put a smile on my face, because
Absolutely.
it is spotlighting Cab Franc, and we love it, and it's fun to us, and it's just like share this fun with everybody and anybody who will listen to us.
Absolutely. And that's what it's fun, and there's there, you can be serious about what you do and serious how you approach your craft, which we all are. But realize at the same time that the thing that we're making and the thing that we are trying to give to people is meant to be whimsical in a way. It's meant to be emotional, certainly. It's meant
Absolutely.
to be it's meant to be a bridge between a winemaker in Livermore and a resident in Paso who tastes my wine, a winemaker in Paso and a resident in Livermore Valley who tastes your wine at Cab Franc-Palooza. It's meant to create this larger web of connections between wine lovers, people who live, maybe the aesthetic side of life is really outwardly, not outwardly, is maybe holds a larger percentage of importance than it would be for the average person. There's a practical side of life we all know about, obviously. We look at our bank account every day, pay bills, all that kind of stuff. What makes that worthwhile, though, is having something you can go to that 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 not doesn't take you away from it, but that elevates that experience. That says, okay, this is the stuff you have to do in order to live your normal life. But come to the circus tent in Cab Franc land or Cab Francapalooza, and you're going to get all the freaky, cool stuff that makes things interesting, makes all of the effort that we have to go through to pay those bills worthwhile, makes for this emotional experience that opens us up to a larger world of a single grape or all grapes, winemaking, agriculture, science, what culture, history, what all, all the things that wine touches. I just look at Cab Franc as being the lens that you get a chance to view, the kaleidoscopic lens in a way, to get to view life through. And that to me is extremely exciting. And the fact that we get a chance to do it in a bunch of different places and with a wonderful people like you and Mike is just it's an awesome gift.
Yeah. So, so what we're going to talk about though is that Cab Francapalooza is going on the road,
Correct.
and you
It
are
is.
coming to Paso,
And we
and I
are so
am
excited about
so
that.
excited that you are coming to Paso.
Me too.
Um, so tell us, like, why why did you choose? Because unless I'm wrong, this is your first on the road Cab
It is our
Francapalooza.
first
Okay,
on the road. It's
okay.
our first on the road trip. Um, we the last time we saw each other actually, I think person to person was December 4th of last year
Hmm.
at the Cab Franc Day celebration that you folks put on in Paso that was revelatory. I tend to like less big wines, more acid driven uh, um, wines that are not overly extracted. The the and the Cabernet Franc from Paso was exactly that, and that was what was so it's surprising to me and so lovely and wonderful is that I've had a lot of wines from Paso made from grapes other than Cabernet Franc that were they were beautifully made. They were they were lovely wines. They were a hit, I'm sure, for a million people. They just weren't my cup of tea.
Right.
The Cab Francs, though, were a whole different story. They were elegant, they were restrained, they were beautiful, they were thoughtful, they were emotional, they were all the things that I look for from Cab Franc. And to get a collection of, I don't know how many wineries you had, 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever the number was. There was there was a wide representation of wineries doing really cool things that that continued to stretch out in a positive way the definition of what Cabernet Franc can be. And it made, from my perspective, there are two regions in California that are doing Cab Franc the way it should be done, and that's Livermore Valley and Paso. And I didn't think I was going to say that prior to the tasting in December. So that I love that. I love that, that you learn things that are surprising. And it made sense. So Cab Franc Momentous Hospitality, which is our company that does Cab Franc Cabalooza, my wife Beth Mirasu, my cellar master and winemaker for Stephen Kent, and Matt Toomey and Rebecca Navarro are very dear and close friends. The four of us put on this festival. And Matt grew up in the Central Coast, so he's much more
Oh,
familiar with Paso than I am, frankly. We just felt like the next best place to go for us is, from my perspective, the next best place for Cab Franc, which is Paso. And it's a way for us to hopefully share this concept of we're going to bring a bunch of different stuff to you to try. And we want you to get out of your comfort zone of Paso Cab Franc to taste stuff from Livermore and taste stuff from the Finger Lakes, which gives you three very distinctive and beautiful versions of Cab Franc that are all different, but all highlight how manifold and beautiful this grape can be.
right, right. And so it is going to be September 1st.
Yep.
Okay. Tickets are available now and
Yep.
they are $50.
I think they are $50,
Okay.
and there may be some discounts through the various wineries for club members and the like, but it's
Right.
$50. You're going to get a chance to taste six or seven or 10 or 12 different Cab Francs from the collective wine. There's six different wineries. There's three from Paso.
Hmm.
And so we've got Dracaena, Midpoint, and LXV from Paso, all
Paso.
making gorgeous wines. Stephen Kent coming down south from Livermore Valley. And then coming east, we've got Boundary Breaks and Buttonwood Grove from the Finger Lakes.
So
And
I have had Button Grove before.
and
So,
and and beautiful wine.
mhm.
These were all participants um in the last Cab Francapalooza in 23.
Okay.
And then we've done some tastings um of wines, kind of like this road show that we've done in our tasting room from Livermore, and had 40, 50 people just love the experience. And it's meant to be intimate, meant to be a chance for people to talk to the winemakers and learn more about what makes Cab Franc so gorgeous. 30, 40 people is all kind of maximum what we're looking at. And tickets are moving quickly, and we're very excited about what's going to happen in the next 10 days, and can't wait to get down to see you and taste some great Paso food and taste some great wines.
And so for people who are listening, the link will be in the show notes.
Beautiful.
And for those who are watching, the link will be in the comments. I don't know what the heck they call that section on YouTube. But but the podcast, whatever it's called, it'll be there.
Yes. Yes.
And so it'll be linked in the show notes. And it's just going to be so much fun to have these wineries come together who just love Cab Franc. And it's just, you know, I,
Beautiful thing.
yeah, yeah. And before we get off, I need to hear you tell me more about this wine. So the 2000, I hate not having green screen.
Thank
So
you.
the
17
2000,
Socal
yeah,
Vineyard.
yeah. So I'm going to be completely straightforward. People, so like, do you know Jason Haas,
I
Travelers Creek?
Yeah, I respect what they do tremendously. I love their wines. I don't know that I've ever actually met him, but I've heard him talk, and I've read a bunch of stuff that he's
So
written.
know of, just don't personally
Yes,
know. So
correct.
Jason is an incredible person. I absolutely adore him, but he freaks me out because I will say, well, the 2015 vintage, and he'll go, oh, well, we had heat spikes on this and we had this. And I'm like, this is what spreadsheets are for. like,
Right.
like I do not, people will come in the tasting room and they will say, oh, well, I'll be pouring like the 2021 vintage and, of whatever. And they'll be like, oh, well, what was it like? I'm like, it was hot. But like, I don't know what day I harvested it on.
Yeah,
I've got to look it up.
that
Um,
exactly,
so
exactly.
I, whatever, I don't expect you to remember all of the ins and outs of the vintage. So I will tell you that. But if you can wow and dazzle us with that memory, that's awesome. But
I
just,
can certainly tell you a little bit about a seven.
okay,
17 for us was so 17 was a fire year in Napa and Sonoma.
yes.
So it was the Paradise Fire year in Sonoma. There was a devastation in various parts of North Napa and Sonoma. So it was a very problematic year in a way, not in a way, but problematic year for that area. Livermore Valley is situated such that it's in the East Bay. It's about 30 miles from San Francisco Bay. And because of its location between San Francisco Bay and the start of the Central Valley on the other side of the Altamont Pass, there's a pressure engine that gets created by the temperature changes over on the other side of the Altamont Pass that bring in cold air from San Francisco Bay, which makes for world-class fruit quality in Livermore. But it also means that Livermore is somewhat like a vacuum for all of the air in the Bay Area. So
Okay.
all the smoke, all the stuff that happens anywhere near Livermore tends to come through Livermore Valley and then get exited out in the central valley. the worst situation for that was 2020. Everything from Livermore and from us, we threw everything away. It was all
So did
smoke.
we. We
Couldn't
threw
couldn't use it.
everything away.
17 was a smoky year, but it was different. It was higher elevation, never really got to the ground like it did in 20. It was more like a smog year for us in 17. So it it extended the growing season. Livermore is warm during the day, but very cool in the evening. People have a sense that it's very hot. It's not. It's much cooler than mid to north Napa Valley. We're harvesting fruit 3 weeks after Napa's done. So, we're harvesting fruit, Gilmedi Vineyard Cab Franc, Gilmedi Vineyard Cabernet, way out, in mid-November. And so it's an area that is very much a wind dominated appellation because of all this air coming in from San Francisco Bay. 2017 was a pristine year weather wise, warm, no rain during harvest at all, no rain leading up to harvest or even post harvest, and the smoke kind of allowed for all of these ripening arcs. So not just sugar, but PHTA, seed texture, seed color, skin tech, all the kind of to come in at the same level of ripeness. So we got beautiful ripe fruit, a little bit more on the sugar side, a little bit higher alcohol potential than for 18, the next vintage. 17 for us was a richer year. We made richer wines in 17, just kind of what nature gave us. We got 200-point scores for wines in 17, Cab Sauv based wines. And we made some blends of Cabernet Franc, and we had about, I think it was like 2 barrels each of Sockau and Gilmedi Vineyard, our two main single vineyard Cab Francs that we decided to release as the highest end expression of Cab Franc for us. And L'Autre the other shore is what that means. Kind of a right bank oblique reference, not Margot and not Pauillac, but Saint-Emilion. This happens to be all Cab Franc in this particular release for Sockau and Gilmedi. Subsequent to that, 18, 19, and onward are going to be blends and are blends, but right bank and Cab Franc heavy blends. So not neutral oak, but not new oak for these two wines. They were in barrique. Everything subsequent to that has been in kind of neutral puncheon. And we're now in cement and stainless steel and various other ways of aging and expressing Cab Franc. But yeah, just about 40 cases of each of these wines is all we made.
Oh, and I have one. I
And then
have
you have one.
one.
I'm
Well,
so
well, not
happy
anymore.
so happy that you're enjoying it. I didn't even know that I have any of these wines left, frankly.
It is, it is. So I just, I sat down to dinner and Mike opened this and I smell, and as soon as I put it up to my nose, I was like, okay, it's a good night.
So, that makes me, that's what we do this for. That's exactly the kind of reaction that we want to have from people. I'm very thankful for that. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to come down on the first Taster 22 vintage, because all of the wines I've had that over the course of with Michael's tastings in Copperopolis and various other places, the wines have always been beautiful expressions of Cabernet Franc
Thank you.
and deft hand and I'm overjoyed that our friendship and our working together is moving outward.
Absolutely. And so the tickets for Capfrancapalooza on the road to Paso are at Eventbrite.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so for those who are listening, if you go to dracaenawines.com, if you go to the events page, you can access the tickets that way. Is there other ways?
At francapalooza.com, there'll be a
Okay.
link there for people. They can get tickets or they at least learn more about the Cab Francapalooza main event next year, but they'll be able to get a link to the Eventbrite page for the Paso event as well.
Okay. And you said June 8th. is
June 8th of 2025
uh,
for Cab Francapalooza. Yeah.
which I don't know if you noticed, I wasn't being rude. I actually picked up my phone and put it in
Awesome.
my calendar.
I look
So
forward to seeing you up in Livermore. That's for darn sure.
yeah, and you got to bring me around because I've only been in and out of Livermore.
I will
So
give me a day and I'll show you everything you need to see.
all right, awesome, awesome. But I want to thank you so much
My
for not
Thank
only
you.
tonight, but just the friendship that we have, and the anybody who has listened to me before knows, how much I respect you. I talk about you and how much I respect you, and how thankful, like literally I cannot thank you enough for how much you helped us with our first vintage of Blanc de Franc, and just
My pleasure.
answering my questions of, oh my god, it's pink. you know um,
Don't sweat it yet. You're fine.
yeah,
No, and that's what friends do, and that's what people who are, kind of um, tied to the same sort of magical vision help each other. And
right,
I love the fact that you are so such an amazing advocate. You and Mike advocates for Cab Franc and for um, the emotional connection to wine. It's a beautiful thing. And I wish we could see each other more frequently, but I love at least this, at least
right,
virtually, we get to
right,
share an evening
right.
together.
And so when we actually do get down, when you guys actually do come down
Yeah,
to Paso, you gotta we gotta go out to dinner. We gotta do something, or at
no
least
question.
drink together.
No question. That
Absolutely.
night is ours together. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you,
I
Lori.
cannot wait to see you. It's been too long. And,
Absolutely.
again, thank you as like I said, my child Cab Franc Day. Thank you for
Thank you.
helping, for promoting
Absolutely.
everything
Absolutely.
in such a wonderful way. Not,
Thank you.
so thank you
Appreciate
very
that.
much. And Cab Francapalooza on the road to
On the road,
Paso.
Paso Robles, baby. Cab
Yes,
Franc rules.
September 1st. So
Awesome.
tickets, buy them now before they're gone.
They're gone.
All
Thank you so
right.
much.
Slancha.
Sláinte. We'll see you soon, my friend. Take it
Bye.
easy. Give Mike my best.
I will. I will.
See you later.